Welcome to the Drone Cast. So I've got a special guest for you. His name is Jason Fladlien, and Jason is widely known as one of the most successful and innovative marketers of our time. He's known as the webinar king, and Jason has generated over $250 million in sales through his groundbreaking strategies and masterful use of webinars. He's a co-founder of Rapid Crush Inc., and Jason is sought after as a thought leader for whose methods they've really revolutionized industries from SaaS to e-commerce. And he's recognized and celebrated for his unique ability to simplify complex concepts and create irresistible offers, helping thousands of entrepreneurs and businesses unlock their massive growth and profits. And a master of persuasion, Jason's expertise is in the sales psychology, copywriting, and product positioning. And this has earned him as the reputation as the results-driven game changer. When Jason speaks, the world listens, and more importantly, profits. And Jason is truly one of the smartest people that I know. And I'm honored to have him and especially to get his perspective on the psychology and the marketing side of what's going on with all these drone sightings and how this is kind of spreading, not only through the US, but also worldwide. So Jason, pleasure to have you. Welcome.
Damon, it's an honor to be here. And I consider you a very close friend. Damon was in my wedding, if you guys don't know that. So it was a very small wedding too. So this is going to be fun for me, as well as if we can help some people take advantage of these opportunities to make or grow some money in their business, then I'm happy to help.
Awesome, man. Well, so the thing that everybody is talking about now is all these drone sightings that are happening in New Jersey and New York and across the country, and now we're seeing them in Argentina and down in Mexico, and a lot of I guess the fear around it and the concern of what this could be. So, I mean, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories that go
Yep.
around stuff as well, right? Um, and there are, I could talk to a little bit about kind of the logistics of what's going on and what people are doing. But I'd also like to get your perspective on why do you think this happens, and how does
Yeah.
this affect people's decisions in the way that they live their lives and especially do business.
Yeah, I always have this filter that I run information through as a business person, and this is useful for anybody, is how could this make me money? That's not the only way I look at a problem, but that is one of the ways in which I look at a problem. So a lot of people are going to get caught up in the drama of this. Is it alien aircraft? Is it Russia? I don't even know the conspiracy theories. I don't even pay attention to that. So they get distracted. This is the finger pointing at the moon. So instead of looking at where the finger's pointing at, they're looking at the finger. And I instead say, okay, if this is topical, if it's in people's minds, that means it's easy to start a conversation with them. It's easy to get their attention on social media or in other advertising and other marketing. And so, how do I start where they're already thinking in their mind and then take it to a position that I could potentially grow my business, grow my following? And that's where I go. I don't waste a lot of energy, Damon, on conspiracy theories because if it's a theory that's not true, then I just wasted my energy thinking about something that was pretend. It didn't exist. If it is true, what could I really do? Say there were really aliens. What am I going to do that's going to really make a difference other than live an excellent life, which is what I'm trying to do anyway? So typically, the things I would do normally are the things I'm going to continue to do. Obviously, be prepared for certain emergencies and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, why this is really powerful is because when something is on somebody's mind, they give it a higher level of value than something that isn't on their mind. So we call this a recall bias. So the way that the brain works is because I can easily recall it, therefore it must be more important. Not true. What you ate yesterday is not more important than something profound you read in a book 10 years ago.
Right.
But you can't remember what you read in a book 10 years ago, and you can remember what you ate yesterday. So somehow the brain thinks, well, hey, this must be important. So right now, people are thinking drones Being aware of drones and learning about drones and being in the know about drones is temporarily, at this point in time, of extremely heightened importance to a lot of people that before this existed didn't even think about drones. So here's your opportunity if you're in the drone business to tap into that. Now you can provide education, which is really powerful. You can explain things that right now demystify the public, and you're now the expert. Great positioning, right? But you can also you can also educate other people about what this means. So say you are somebody who sells drone stuff, like say you help realtors take pictures, they fly the drones over there, all that kind of stuff. This gives you the opportunity to make business deals too. Because you can say this is the power of drones. See how important drones are. Drones are not the future. Drones are the present. And one of the ways that you can utilize drones that most people aren't are in this particular way. So even a real estate agent who might not consider having drone photographers now is way more open to the idea of that than they were before this happened. It's a fantastic way to enter a conversation going on in somebody's mind and then taking it to a position where you can generate business as a result. So that's a filter that I look at things like these opportunities that present themselves because they don't happen very often, right?
Right, right, yeah, and it's it's neat to see that the kind of the combination of the fear around it, but then also the spin of all the positivity that's coming from it, and just the awareness. Because I think it's as far as the drones and what their ability are, so many people don't know about what they are. We went through this back in the early 2000s with there was drones was kind of a bad word, right? Like people would ask, oh, is that a drone? I was like, oh, absolutely not. This is a remote controlled autonomous aircraft. I wouldn't use the word drone at all.
Smart.
But now drones are doing all things for good. They're doing search and rescue. They're doing recoveries. They're doing inspections and saving lives. They're taking vital medicine and heart transplants, or all these things that are on kind of the front of the public awareness and stuff. So I think all that stuff really is beneficial.
Yeah, so imagine creating a piece of social media where you say, this is what people think drones are. And in the background, you show this news clip. And then you have like aliens and all this stuff. This is what drones mostly are today. And then you show how drones help with heart surgeries and how drones help in these scenarios. And then you can say, this is a problem that most people don't understand. Is to them, they don't know the real use cases of drones. And so therefore, in their mind, it's just a different boogeyman. If you would like to see how these drones can help you in XYZ, 1, 2, 3, direct message me and I'll give you more information. So that is temporarily likely to catch virility in social media right now. Messaging like that. It's more likely to get picked up in the algorithm. It's more likely to be distributed and spread to large amounts of audiences for free. And that is the easiest way to increase your business is just to have more people that have the opportunity to do business with you. So these are the types of things you should be processing when you hear news like this. How do I turn this into an opportunity to start or grow a business, especially if you have an area where you're an expert in this? Uh, and or if you have a service that you can attach something to at the end of the day. Now, David, people are probably thinking like, how does this have to do with that? It doesn't necessarily. It's tenuous at best, the connection between the two, but you just need the connection. Grab attention here and then take the attention and move it over here. The point of it is if we can reach 1 million people real quickly, real easily, when we couldn't reach 10 the other day, I don't care how unqualified these people are. If there's 1 million of them, we're going to stumble over a few of them that are going to result in a lot of business. It's just a mathematical fact.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's so true. And if you think about what's happening with like most of these drone sightings that are out there, they're actually manned aircraft. But these people, I think a lot of people, they haven't looked up in the sky in so long that they're not used to seeing what they're actually seeing. So and I want you to speak to the psychology of this a little bit, because they haven't looked in the sky before. Now they're looking up and everything looks like a drone. Like
Yep.
I've had thousands of videos and pictures and everything sent to me. And over 80% of these that are drone sightings, they're just manned aircraft. They're airplanes and helicopters.
Oh
There's
yeah.
two airplanes on a landing pattern flying by, and they see a drone. And a couple, I saw over a dozen of them that were, they're like, oh my gosh, look at that orb. It's a drone, hovering, and it's right there. And I'm like, that is Venus. Very clearly Venus, right? And but that's what they're thinking, so that's what they see.
Yeah, I mean, so again, the brain works where we have these shortcuts, which helps us operate in an increasingly complex world. Like if we were to literally, if every single day you woke up, you're like, what is this thing? Oh, it's a t-shirt. How do I put a t-shirt on? Well, I put a hand in a hole and then I lift it over my head. If you had to intellectually process each step consciously, you would be overwhelmed so quickly. So the brain develops these shortcuts, and these shortcuts overall serve us, but there are gaps and there are problems with these shortcuts because everything has a cost associated to it. Even being a millionaire has the cost of your family now tries to borrow more money from you, right? So everything has a cost. So there's this recency bias that's happening in the brain. The brain has recently, it's no different than when you go and buy a car, and then the next day you see all the people that have the same car that you just bought. The day before, you never noticed any of them. Before I had my first dog, German Shepherd, I didn't even notice any dogs being walked on the street. Now, ever since I got the German Shepherd, every time I see a German Shepherd on the street, I instantly can spot it out of all the noise, right? Even when it's not a German Shepherd, you just notice it. So this is what's happening. People are now the recency of this drone has made them more alert to drones or drone-like things in the sky. So things that they wouldn't even notice before, they now notice. The brain is prioritizing them because they view them as threats, or they view them as important, or they view them as interesting, whatever the case may be. And then there's this concept called confirmation bias too. We tend to look for things that confirm our existing beliefs. Because then it's kind of like a pat on the back. Like, I believe this. This makes it true. Good job, me. Good belief that I have, right? So it's like the confirmation is if I believe it's important to be on the awareness of drones that are dangerous or drones that are important for me to be aware of, then the confirmation is that's a drone, that's a drone, that's a drone. Look at me. I'm so smart and I'm so observant. And we all have these. This isn't a bug. This is a feature of the human brain. But this is what's going on. And so people are having a lot of false positives as a result of this. People are putting themselves in states of anxiety that are unnecessary as a result of this, which is not useful particularly, but nonetheless, here it is. And so if you can help people through this, then you can get business from them, you can get rapport with them, you can get connection by them, you can grow your network with them because you're helping people through an uncertain time and providing them certainty. And that is a leadership quality that is highly valued in any market. It's valued in a friend as well, it's valued in a colleague. And so look at this as an opportunity to provide leadership and to give people who are uncertain and scared some certainty and alleviate some fear and give them some clarity in the situation. But if you're not anything else but available, like you're doing, Damon, where it's like people are sending you this stuff and you're just like, okay, listen, this is Venus. This is not an unarmed aircraft. Now, by the way, discipline your disappointment. Uh, People, once they believe something, it's hard for them to not believe it, even if you can present irrefutable factual evidence to the contrary. So
For
your
sure.
job is to attempt to enlighten, and if they receive it, great. And if they don't, then great. It's probably unlikely if they believe something to be true that you're going to convince them otherwise. But the people that haven't made a decision yet, that are in that middle, you can provide leadership to help them make a decision that is rooted in reality and is grounded there versus the irrational side of things that people can lean towards otherwise.
Yeah, they seem to be so magnetized or polarized to go towards the fear and the negative rather than, you know, believe that, oh, this could be, but what if, and they go down there. Do you think that stems from the survival part of our brain to keep us safe and
Yeah.
all?
Yeah, I mean, so survival is mandatory, thriving is optional. We are programmed to survive at all costs. Happiness is great if you get it, but not being dead is priority number one biologically. Now, I would prefer us overcome our biological programming. I think, we are not animals like any other animal. But this is loss aversion, classic loss aversion. The example I give here, Damon, is say you were walking down the street in the morning and you stumbled over $100 bill. You found it and it was yours free and clear. You put it in your pocket. You're $100 richer than when you started during the day. And let's say when you started the day, your happiness rating was 50%. You were at a 50% happiness level, an even 5 out of 10. Once you found that $100 bills, you went up to a 70% happiness rate. Your happiness rate increased by 20%. So you're like, man, life is good. I just made $100. I'm lucky. I'm feeling good about myself. And then later that night, when you reach in your pocket to go for that $100, somehow it fell out and you lost it. You just lost $100. Not really, because you started the day without it, you ended the day without it. So net wise, you're exactly where you started. But that 70% happiness you were feeling now drops to a 30% happiness because losing the $100 hurts significantly more on the downside than finding the same $100 increases your happiness on the upside. So it was better that you never found it in the first place because finding it and losing it will leave you worse off than never finding it at all. So that's the power of loss aversion. If you had to put numbers on it, the equivalent is you have to find $500 to lose $100 and be back to where you started. Loss cuts at least twice as much as gain increases pleasure. And so people are going to be naturally predisposed, most people are, to be predisposed from a fear of loss positioning. So nobody looks at the drones and say, "Oh, this must be God coming down with his angels to put us into a new state of utopia." Nobody says that, right? Why wouldn't they? Like, why shouldn't we err on this side of positivity? But they just don't, by and large. They say, "Oh my God, something evil is happening. I'm in danger. I must do something about it." Now, these are two extremes. The answer is almost always somewhere in the middle, right? It's not God coming to make you live for 1,000,000 years, and it's not some evil alien technology or some evil other government or our own government trying to subjecticate us to pain and any of that stuff. It's probably United Airlines image that somebody AI or photoshopped and turned it into a publicity stunt. That's probably what it is. Don't know for sure, but it's probably somewhere in the middle of those two. And again, if we can stay in that resilient state of being, we're going to be more likely to handle whatever it is. And again, we're going to be more likely to grow from it, either commercially or otherwise, as a result of processing it.
That's such great advice because I think that it's totally applicable here, but just in life in general.
Yeah.
And I think it is, we have to be the stewards of our, of our own mind and our thoughts and where we allow that to go. And I think that's one of the big takeaways is to be a critical thinker and to, look at news and look at stuff that comes your way with a healthy dose of skepticism and and who's ultimately to benefit and what's most likely the reality here. Like for most of the drone sightings, I think these are essentially just manned aircraft that people misconstrued. I think there are quite a few people that are social media people that are trying to get clicks, and they've got CGI stuff and they've got other things that are out there, and they're getting some traction with that. There is some confusion with twinkly things like stars and planets that people haven't seen before, and they're thinking drones. And then with the government being a little bit quieter on not releasing the information, that always creates a little bit of fear. And I think that before I know we've got to wrap up here, but before I let you go, when there's that little bit of confusion, why do people typically, in your opinion, and this goes to whether they're making a buying decision or a personal decision, why do you think they go to that fear place that if there's not any good definitive answer of
Yeah.
where this is coming from, why do they immediately jump to kind of worst case scenario?
Yeah, so in addition to being biologically programmed to come out of the womb that way, right? So we have to overcome our own programming, most of us do. So we're not loss averse by nature. But then the other effect you have to realize is the greatest way you can control somebody is to put them in fear. And I don't mean that in a conspiratorial way. If it bleeds, it leads is a common journalistic credo. So, and they find out if we run positive, feel-good stories in the news, we don't get as much viewership. And if we don't get as much viewership, we ain't gonna make as much money. So they have to run with the scary angle, and then they do that, and then they make more money. So then they do more of that. This is a positive reinforcement, right? So by nature, we are already predisposed to be more responsive to negative, and then it's exacerbated. This is the fuel on the fire when society these days has now been perpetuating that fear, taking it and ratcheting it up to another level. So I always consider this, do I want to give my power to that force? It's hard enough for me to work on my own programming. And do I also want to hand over my power to somebody else who's going to use it for their goal? If you're not working for your own goals, you're working for somebody else's goals. And so I try to opt out. I literally, Damon, didn't know about this drone thing until my mother, God bless her, who is on that news cycle, dopamine drip, is talking to me about it. And otherwise, I try to opt out of all of this stuff. The good news is if these events come where we can leverage them to be leaders and to help others and to grow our businesses, you're going to find out about them anyway. It's impossible. My kids know about this. They're 14 and 11, right? And they know about this before I know about this. So it'll get back to me without me having to participate in it and participate in it actively. But ideally, we have to opt out of these things. We have to insulate ourselves from the forces that generally will put people in a state of fear because that helps them get what they want. But what they want isn't necessarily helpful to you. Usually it's at odds with what you want. So the best thing you can do to not be affected by it is not to be exposed to it as much as you can, right? A little bit's okay, right? The difference between a cure and a poison is the dosage. So a little bit of it is okay. But we have to be careful with the diet of negativity that we can consume because we're already biologically predisposed to be in the pain area. And then if we continue with that feedback loop, it's like the echo effect. It will just continue to compound and get worse and worse and worse. So at the very least, we got to counteract that. We got to schedule positivity and we got to schedule gratitude in our life for no other reason than to counteract the negativity. So, therefore, when everybody else is losing their mind, you're the only one that's sane and sober. They will look to you for leadership. And the leadership position is always the best one to be in. If you're trying to increase your business, it's also the best one to be in. If you're trying to increase the connections and the richness that you have in your life, you either have to be a leader or you have to find somebody that you can follow. And your choice.
Right. That that's so powerful. Thank you for that perspective there. So, and I think, tying this up or wrapping this up, the takeaways for the people that are in fear, I think I love the scheduling your gratitude and scheduling your positivity. I do a gratitude and a win exercise every day where I look at the things that I did that day, that I'm proud of myself, the wins I had, and then what am I grateful for? That that I can reflect on. And I think that's such a powerful practice that takes just literally seconds, or a few minutes, and people don't do it. So I think if anyone listening, if you haven't done that, I challenge you, do a little experiment for a week, see what that does. And as far as the drones, I think totally let's take Jason's advice, right, on this stuff. If a lot of this stuff, the government finally came out and announced that these drone sightings there's nothing nefarious going on. They're all legal. And and something to put yourself at ease is there's a drone tracking app. It's called Drone Scanner. You guys can download and you can see what drones are legally flying in the sky and around us. And look up at the sky every once in a while and take a look at the stuff that's there, and know that the drones are here to stay, and they're here to do way more good than they do harm. And I think this is a great opportunity for people that are in the drone space to become more relevant, also be the leaders, like you mentioned, Jason. I think that's a huge opportunity to take this momentum and carry it forward, and also educate people, because a lot of people just don't know. Even police, first responders, these guys, they don't know what the rules are and how these things operate. So we're in a neat time, and I love what you said, that it's I think something around that drones are the present and not the future, right?
Yeah,
We're
that's a little bit of marketing spin for you, right? You got to get good at the language. That'll help you too. So it's like, hey, they're not the future, they're the present. And that means that people need to prioritize them. Everybody lives in the past. So it's, real estate agents, I told them for 10 years, you need to get online. You need to learn the art of virtual tours of your houses. You need to have follow-up sequences for people. And they said, yeah, yeah, Jason. And then they would go and do coffee dates, and they would do, schlep them around the neighborhoods. And then COVID hit. And then all of those business came running to me, Jason, what do I do? I'm like, you're a little late to the party. We can help you, but I don't know if we can help all of you because you delayed it until it all of a sudden became the most important thing. So ideally, we get there before we have to, dig the well before we're thirsty, right? So this will help some people recognize that this is a thing that's happening right now, not a distant concept in the near future. They will reprioritize it. And as a business person, if you can get people to make it a priority, you can get more business as a result of that. So here's a prime, albeit fleeting opportunity for you to take advantage of that.
That's awesome. Well, Jason, thank you so much for coming by. If anyone wanted to follow you, or you have a new book that's out also, but if there's any way that anyone wanted to get more of you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, get me on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. It's just at Jason Fladlien. And if you're interested in these communication structures that we talked about here today, the biases, the way people make decisions, this is what we do on the channel. So follow me on Instagram.
Awesome. Awesome. Great having you here, man. And I can't thank you enough. It's been such an honor.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right.